This machine kills fascists.
This is an old one, isn't it?
I don't know. I
I feel like we've done this before. I don't know. Maybe French.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
My Duolingo.
But it's only because of all of the French things that are so lovely.
Because they're so cool. My Duolingo is going really well, by the way.
Oh yeah, you've been doing that one, huh?
Yeah. Nous allons à la boulangerie.
I need to get back on my Spanish.
J'habite New York.
Sint mihi de acorontes propiti. Fallet numen twiners deo.
I gotta get back to my fucking Latin.
I haven't summoned a demon in so long.
Demon hasn't called me either.
Hey, are we recording? Are we just talking?
We're just doing it. We're doing it. We're back.
Oh, so we're live from hell.
We're live from hell, baby.
Hello, everyone.
Hot
Welcome
little
to.
takes. Huddle up.
Hi, I'm Mike.
I'm Christian.
We've got a drink, and we watched some crap, and we hope you did too, so that we can all chit chat.
Yeah. I'm hoping there's been a lot of action on the Hot Little Takes IG at Hot Little Takes.
Sure, we've been getting a lot. You know, it's cool. We've been really making our comeback. I'd say
Absolutely.
strong comeback, and we've been getting recommendations.
What are some
new listeners?
Should we start there? What are some
No one's given us a review in a long time, but we don't really encourage that sort of thing. I think maybe we should. I don't know.
that's true. Rate and review.
A good one though. Like, don't give us a bad review.
Well, I'll take a bad one. If you want to give us like a full Richard Brody, I would also recommend anyone, because we're not going to talk about Hillbilly Elegy and we're not going to watch it, but I would really recommend reading Richard Brody's New Yorker review of that movie, because he has never pulled a punch in his fucking life.
Hillbilly Elegy. What the hell is that?
That's the new Glenn Close, Amy Adams, Ron Howard joint that's on Netflix right now, based on that guy's memoir. That guy who was not a hillbilly.
Oh,
and
God.
is just like a venture
I
capitalist.
swear to God, I saw that title working at a bookstore, and it looked like something that I would just walk right past.
Right. It's the kind
know.
of like new trashy novel, and we're gonna get to some more of those.
Yeah. The hillbilly's daughter kind of thing.
The hillbilly's daughter.
Yeah, I've heard that joke before.
I finished Border Snakes, by the way.
Nice. That was
Finally.
one, I think, in one of our very first episodes.
When we started quarantine, we were going to do Border Snakes
Start our book club.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get back on our book club.
I started it in April, took about 4 months off, and then really pounded it out in the last couple weeks.
I think this
More
winter
than 4 months.
this winter's gonna be conducive to reading some classics.
I just started...
I bought a book of Shelley poems. Shelley,
Nice.
Keats, and Byron. It's like a
The mixtape.
fat one. Yeah, on my ARC find.
Shelley X, Byron
Shelley
X,
and the boys.
Keats.
Yeah. Yeah. The
That's
romance boys.
I love I've got Byron's Don Juan in here, and
That's in there.
It's a fun read, actually. If you just open that up to a random page, there's good stuff in there.
Any story about the Don Juan, I think, is interesting.
Absolutely, and if anyone got it, it was Byron.
I've told you many times
Byron
to
Falk.
watch the old movie, the Donald Logue movie, The Tao of Steve, about Steve McQueen, and a running plot. Like, he's this like fat party animal dude who
Steve McQueen.
seduces women with like talking about literature and classics and
Right.
stuff. And the running plot thread is like the Don Juan as a figure and
Right.
in literature and
Right.
dissecting that.
Right.
And it's really good, actually. It's a
What
good,
happened to Donald
That's
Logue?
a movie that should come out now because there are so many issues surrounding masculinity and healthy attitudes and stuff. And
Right.
And that's a movie you would remake now, but it would be like you gender swap the whole thing.
Who plays the Don Juan?
I don't know, some chick who's just like, well, I guess it wouldn't work the same way because men are not seduced by intelligence the way women are.
No, men are stupid.
Men are shallow, stupid beasts. I just was hoisted by my own
Retard.
Damn.
That's a great his own retard.
I always like to use the word foisted. That's one
Oh,
that I
yeah.
want to make the world say.
Right.
You foisted this upon me.
Right.
Which is not a real thing, but it's like, I feel like I've been foisted.
Great line from...
I've been forced and hoisted.
Uh-huh.
Like,
that's the case.
And now we shall duel. Slap him with your glove.
You know, did you know that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have reunited to write a script
about a really smart guy
in a movie
and a really dumb guy.
In a movie that I think that they're shooting or maybe even done with. That's called The Duel, and it's all about like a throwing of the gauntlet duel. I think
between those two, that could actually be. I'm kind of there.
I'm here for it, dude.
I'm here for that.
I like Affleck.
I just watched Dazed and Confused again.
Ugh!
What a trooper! And we listened to a good interview about. There's a book.
Yeah, we gotta get this. We gotta get this book.
There's a retrospective.
Oral history.
He like none of the girls would talk to him on that set. And he had a hard time because he was playing like the douchiest guy.
The douchiest
Everyone
guy
hated
ever.
him.
Yeah. And it's so funny because he's like in and out of that movie in the first like 20 minutes, but he makes such a.
There are so many little details in that. Like I forgot that they've all got these muscle cars, but his doesn't have a paint job. And so at the end of the movie, when they dump paint on him, one of the guys is like, "He finally got his paint job."
Oh my god!
And you're like, "That's like." That's probably a cut scene that's more established or something like, right. But it's just like details.
Where is the fucking like Dazed and Confused Criterion Collection edition? Because I will watch 27 hours of shit if they've got it.
I think it was funny that interview we listened to. Linklater's like, I'm kind of exhausted talking about this movie. I made so many other movies. Like, can we talk about Bad News Bears or something?
Yeah,
like,
can we talk about Bernie?
Come on. Yeah, but nobody talks about Bernie.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen
There's
it either.
movies all
That's the movie he's like, would someone please watch Bernie?
Right. There's so many Linklater movies that I'm like, I had no fucking clue that guy directed that. I was like thinking the last...
A lot of directors are like
It was in the last couple of years that I found out that he directed School of Rock.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I obviously did not realize that at the
time.
That
was, I think, like, his transition into more...
Making money.
Yeah, or like making things, you know, yeah, you gotta make the money, man.
Mm-hmm.
What do they say? Like 2 for them, 1 for me, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. They're all for me, Linklater. I just haven't gotten to them
1-to-1 ratio sounds a lot nicer and a lot more creative. Hollywood.
Sure, I agree.
What's the movie that like destroyed it back in the 70s? Like when all the directors were getting all the money they wanted to make the movies, and it was the cowboy movie. I think William Friedkin or somebody was making it. And,
Friedkin.
And there was like a scene in it where they were all, because this was a thing in the cowboy days, was people started roller skating and they had like a first roller rinks and stuff. But this movie was like so expensive.
Is that
they killed a bunch of horses, and then it lost. It's like not Paradise Lost.
The one where they all like run into
Heaven's
the
Gate.
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. That was like the one.
That's Terrence Malick.
Was that?
Isn't it?
I don't know, but that like I know is
Shit,
that
we don't know.
That's considered. Well, we always don't know, but we encourage our listeners to go Google things and stuff. I think
totally. Terrence Malick's cool. Song to Song is an underrated movie. They just put Badlands on.
But that movie's known as one that like stopped the, you know, creator-driven freedom that existed for a while.
Sure. That's the thing that I heard about Orson Welles the other day that just made me swoon for him again. That Citizen Kane was done on schedule and under budget.
Sure.
What a fucking god. We'll talk more about Orson Welles next week. I know that on the last podcast we were like, Mank is coming out right now, and we were fucking...
They keep pushing things back.
We were wrong. It comes out on Friday, which is probably when this podcast is going to come out.
Yeah.
So imagine us talking to you early in the morning and then being really happy.
Imagine us recording this before you listen to this.
Imagine us just talking to you directly in your car, in your headphones.
While you're sleeping at night, sitting next to you.
Do you think we're
cradling you in our arms?
Do you think that we're one of those podcast people who are like, I'll put this on to go to bed?
I think we're the kind of podcast people who are like, I'm gonna put this on and furiously masturbate.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, it's the sincerest form of flattery.
It's gotta be one or the other, right?
It's gotta be one or the other.
I know what I listen to podcasts for, and it's not to do chores.
That's true. So, we got a weird docket of shit today. I
guess so.
I've got kind of a weird little pile of crap that we can start with, and then we're gonna get anyone who is in on the undoing. We're gonna undo that bitch.
We're gonna undo the undoing.
You better believe it. So running through the things, I don't know. what order we should start in here.
You've got a list. I can barely remember what we were supposed to talk about.
Well, the one thing, the one kind of addendum I think we wanted to make was, we spent the last episode talking about how happy we were that Chappelle's Show was something that we could revisit, and I think that we both banged it out, and then like pretty much as soon as like a week after we released
that was
the
one
episode,
of the comments I got from a couple people too. Was like, hey, did you hear about this?
Yeah, and and if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, Chappelle requested to Netflix that the show be taken down, requested to everyone before that they stop watching it until he gets paid because of this weird
everyone has had his back on that.
And so do we.
No one has opposed that. No one has been like, no, Chappelle, you don't deserve credit for making the greatest thing ever that you did that you don't own.
Right.
And that's not fucked up. Like, everyone's on board.
That actually leads me to another thing that's been killing me. I'm sure that you've seen this. I'm sure everyone listening has seen this. If you're on Twitter or Instagram, I'm sure it's happening on Facebook too. People are posting their Spotify Wrapped, like their year end, where it's like, you listen to more Phoebe Bridgers than anything else in the world. You listen to more of this.
I don't listen to Spotify.
Fuck Spotify.
I don't like...
Because they don't fucking pay people.
I like to listen to like one song at a time.
Well, sure, but I mean, do you know that Spotify has all these like weird garbage contractual things where like they do like artists like do not make money from Spotify.
That's kind of the way that the whole tech industry has gone, and it makes me laugh so much. Like, because when I was do you remember being like in middle school or in elementary school, I guess in your case, and like Napster being a thing? Like, we've gone.
Napster was before my time, but
we've gone like in such a weird 180.
LimeWire is more
around this kind of shit, but the all the industries are fucked up. I don't know. They're all fucked up. They all need... The entire thing needs a huge overhaul creatively. Like, who was it that just came out and, like, slammed the Grammys for bribery?
Oh, I didn't see that. That's great.
One of those pop stars called it out, and it was like, well, everyone fucking knows that about all of these award shows anyway, right? Like, otherwise, why isn't our little rinky-dink amazing... some cult movie that somebody made last year.
Right.
Why wasn't that recognized?
Right.
Because it didn't have any fucking money. Like, it didn't. Nobody saw it. Nobody could get paid off. Nobody like.
Right. Oscars are right around the corner in April.
Yeah, and I remember. I think we should still go back to this, doing our like live reporting of maybe you and I will just become announcers and we'll watch all of the celebrities on their Zoom calls and comment on it.
Should we do a live Oscars cast this year?
I think you and I would be great live reporters. Like, that's where maybe we'll find our real niche and someone will discover us, dude.
Hit us up on Instagram. Maybe I'll post a poll.
And you'll be like, here down the aisle we have so-and-so, and I'll be like, who's that?
That's a possibility. What else we got here? Okay, you brought this up to me a couple weeks ago, and I looked it up today. Sort of, I don't know really where we can go with it, but I'm into it. That Joaquin Phoenix might be the lead in the next Ari Aster movie.
Oh, that's right.
I love this.
That's right. Oh, there's been a couple weird announcements like that. Did you hear about David Lynch?
That's right. There's a new David Lynch show down the pipe.
It's called Wisteria, which made all of his fans just like
lose their balls.
Yeah, they like pulled their own heads off and stuck them up their own asses, and then they regrew out of the necks where there was no head.
So the title of this prospective film is called Beau is Afraid,
and it's supposed to be 4 hours long.
Oh my god. It's my favorite.
Did you read that article? That whole article?
Yeah, well, there's like several now, but this is what I said to you when you texted me about it. I think
you were like, "That's my favorite."
That's my favorite movie
already.
Joaquin and Ari Aster.
What's the plot again though? Isn't it something like he's like traveling through different worlds or something? Something very.
Here's the synopsis. It says on geekfeed.com. An anxious man learns of the death of his mother under mysterious circumstances, and upon traveling home, makes an alarming discovery about his past. During his journey, he runs into various crazy supernatural threats. Joaquin, do it!
Yes.
Do the movie!
And Ari Aster. And make it 4 hours long.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Make it 4 hours long. Put an intermission in. I'm down for bringing back the intermission. Can all go get a beer, take a piss.
Oh my god.
Smoke a cigarette. To be like, oh, this movie is great.
It would really thrill me actually to like return to the theater in however many months and have the first movie I see have a fucking intermission. That would be so cool.
Yes. Then it's like we've come full circle, and now,
right?
You know,
it's back, baby.
Someone's gonna write an opera, and it's gonna win an Oscar. That kind of thing.
Whoa.
Chekhov Reborn.
As an opera?
Chekhov's not an opera's operatus.
An operatus.
But you know, in terms of the classical, there's something like. Sure. You go see like an amazing, you know, those shows would be like dinner and a show and like a whole fucking evening. And
Totally. Did they take an intermission break during like the theatrical run of like The Godfather? Probably, right?
I think back in that era it was more common.
Sure.
To do that, yeah.
It was also more common.
But I think it would be like the old, you know, the Quentin Tarantino, like
right.
It would just be like standard, you know. Who knows? Maybe the projectionists had a union. They were like,
you'd like to think.
You're like, there's your 90.
Back then, when it was a job,
you got a 90-10 or whatever.
Dude, I mean, think about that shit. That's like a fucking craft that is gone now.
Oh yeah, now you just have a computer. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know how things.
So some places will still do this, but they're like these. But it's a big event to be like we're restoring the 35 mil thing. And we're gonna, you know,
this whole building's super flammable right now.
This whole thing is super flammable.
I love paying for the thrill of that experience.
Fuck yeah. My list is so stupid. No,
that's cool. I'm glad you have a list because you're making me think of things. One thing that I think we should talk about, is the new greatest male celebrity, Elliot Page.
Elliot Page, who when that shit came up on my Twitter, can we just say
less than a year ago, I think last Oscars, I was like, what's gonna happen when someone is transgender or doesn't even identify as male or female?
Right.
But here we go. This could be the first person to be nominated for Best Actress and Best Actor.
This is certainly the first person who has been nominated before. And I do have serious qualms with Twitter or whoever put this thing out. So when he put the press release out announcing this, the update came on my phone and it said, Elliot Page has announced that he is, I saw Umbrella Academy star Elliot Page has announced that he is transgender.
I saw the earlier articles in the day, and at that point they said Ellen Page has come out as transgender, now refers to as Elliot Page. So they
dead name her in the article.
But also it was like a 6-hour period, I think, where all the news places were like, oh, we can't dead name her. That's not cool.
Right.
But people don't know who Elliot Page is.
No shit.
So a lot of people were like, who the fuck is Elliot Page? And so they had to attach the picture, all the references, all the movies.
But when you put up Umbrella Academy, I'm like, I don't know.
That's the most recent you should have said Juno.
You should have said Academy Award nominee from the film Juno.
No shit. Yes. Yes.
Like, put some respect on his name.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
That's all I have to say about that whole thing.
No, that's a good point because, I mean, Umbrella Academy is been a weird niche thing.
And we don't love this movie, but Inception, like, put the fucking thing.
Yeah, and I think that's like, I think there were people scrambling yesterday to figure out how to handle how to handle political correctness and gender in a headline. They're like, none of you saw anything like this coming. Right. Like there was never going to be a time where a famous person like did this.
Sure.
And you guys had not. It was really kind of funny to watch that happening.
But for Christ's sake, if Robert De Niro tomorrow was to do the same thing, they would not be like
Dame
the Intern star. Do you know what I'm saying?
Roberta De Niro of Godfather fame.
Put respect on the name.
They wouldn't. Of the Intern.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good. That's a really good point because that's the first thought I had, like I said, is like, I don't think there's a ton of great young actors in Hollywood right now. And so I would actually love to see him, like, take some of those roles from those guys.
Yeah, dude.
Because I think he's a much better actor.
Born in America.
And I'm, like, someone who really appreciates, like, a good, wry, deadpan delivery. Like,
absolutely.
Everything about...
Influenced a generation, I think, in terms of their deadpan qualities. This was the last thing on my list. This can kind of get thrown over to the listeners, too. Just because I'm curious about this, and this can be the last thing before we take a break. Should we watch The Crown?
It's the most expensive show ever made.
Is that right? More expensive than Game of Thrones?
Oh, I thought you knew that.
No.
That's the factoid I hear about it.
Okay.
The most expensive show ever made.
Do you have a number?
If you don't watch it, you're letting Irish kids go hungry. My whole family's a big fan of it, and I just don't give... I've never had much of an interest.
Here's my thing with it, though. So this is season 4 of The Crown. I think there's only going to be one more? 2 more?
Sure.
I'm not sure.
Sure.
Anyway, this is the Margaret Thatcher, Princess Diana era that they're in now, where they're characters. I'm kind of interested.
One thing I do know that it's interesting is I guess the girl who played Princess Diana had worked on the show, or was like a...
She was like a PA or something?
Or she had been like a reader in the room for other actresses reading for it.
Oh, no shit.
Something like that. I don't know too much about this, but I do know there's something cool about how that actress found that part, Like, imagine, because there's plenty of people who are like, we need you to come in, you're going to be the reader in the room,
Right.
And
and then thankless job.
I had to do that one time where I had to read for all these other actors. And then I auditioned at the end of the day. You know how much that sucks?
Because they're done.
You watch everyone else. I mean, in one hand, you do have an advantage. But at the other hand, they're like, we've heard you reading all day flatly. And we want to go home. Like, we've already made our decision. We watched all these other people that you read against.
Right. I've got my buddy coming in for that part anyway, so.
Nah, yeah, exactly. But you know what's funny is, director quit. I got the part after all.
Oh, that's right!
Yeah. And I played Bob fucking Cratchit.
How old were you? 31?
I don't know. Yeah, well, yeah.
He was
old enough to have, like, 4 kids in that era. I would think I was, the director's wife, who he had done, like, a ton of Christmas carols over years. She told me I was the best Bob Cratchit she'd ever seen. That's what Betty said.
Fuck yeah. Shouts to Betty Ross.
Hell yeah. Love you, Betty. Thank you.
Betty's in the Go Patch. We'll do a personal Go Patch episode for the Rosses.
Sure.
That sounds like a blast. Well, alright. That's a little cold open for everybody. We'll take a little break and we'll come back.
You've still got a few things on your list?
No, that was the end of my list.
Oh, really?
That was the end.
Oh, good. Yeah. This has been a good little tete-a-tete rapport.
Yeah, keeping it loose. Keeping it fast and loose.
This is exactly what
Because it's not going to be fast and loose in a minute.
Oh, no, it's going to be wide and sloppy and slow and so fucking slow.
It's so stupid.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about The Undoing, so everyone enjoy your break. Rock and roll.
But in your dreams, whatever they be.
No, he's himself.
Yeah, he's not like being like totally straight like who's the guy who did all the PBS ones before he got canceled for
Charlie Rose.
Yeah.
Those are good interviews too, but obviously Charlie Rose is not held up as well.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Dick Cavett though. Dick Cavett is awesome.
Yeah,
if you want to watch interviews with people who like you thought didn't he interviewed Salvador Dali, those are great. We've a lot of Orson Welles.
I can't recommend enough the Cassavetes, Ben Gazzara, Peter Falk.
Yeah,
where they're just fucking wasted.
They're amazing interviews,
and he's so good at it, and you never are irritated with him. He's so genuine.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to keep it on track, but he's got a sense of humor about all of it. So he's like laid back. It's very loose and like
His Orson Welles interview. I've seen some of that before.
He's got a couple, I think, of
I think
Orson
he does
Welles.
too. And his Oliver Reed one is
Those are awesome, though. Been watching a lot of those. Watching Survivor.
I'd recommend all Oliver Reed.
Been watching a little bit of Survivor.
And you have a furiously hot take.
I want to, for anyone out there who enjoyed Game of Thrones and was disappointed by Game of Thrones, which was everyone, I think you can go find some like really good Survivor seasons, and you'll get a little taste of that manipulation and fighting for the throne.
You cooled this down so much when we took the break. You were like, Survivor is better than Game of Thrones.
No, it is better than Game of Thrones. That's my overall hot take. Is Survivor is Game of Thrones.
You gotta send it.
But it's almost like a good. I know people who like that about that thing will like that about this thing. And it's a better thing because if that season sucked, the next one will have new people. That shit's been on they've had like fucking 40 seasons of that goddamn.
Yeah, they pumped
Jeff
out a
Probst is the highest paid host of
Right.
any show. That dude makes so much money.
Right. He's a good host.
He seems like a good dude. He seems like a cool dude.
He seems cool. I caught some of the latest.
They put two on,
which is an all-star.
They put two of the best ones on Netflix. And
Okay.
those are the ones to they're these were regarded as the greatest seasons ever,
Sure.
or whatever.
I don't know. I don't really love the games and weird things that they do.
I wouldn't be watching this if it weren't for
Certain
COVID.
reasons. Sure.
Normally.
What was the Nickelodeon version?
Oh, the Total Drama Island? Is
No.
that what you're talking about? Aiden used to watch that
No,
when he was a
no,
kid.
no, that's not what I'm
there was
talking
there was a show like that where they would get voted off.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Kids?
It was a cartoon that kids would
Oh.
watch. I remember Aiden would watch that when he was a kid. And it was there was a Jeff Probst type host, and they would do dumb shit, and then they'd get voted off, and they'd have it was totally set up like a reality show.
No, that's not what I mean.
It was not very good.
What's the temple?
Oh, that was my other take. Yeah, it's basically Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Legends of the
for
Hidden
adults.
Temple.
So anyone who liked that
Yes.
as a kid,
Those
it's
are
Game of Thrones and Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Those are like the
combined.
dumb challenges that they have on Survivor, but I feel like Legends of the Hidden Temple had better challenges.
They're not dumb when $1 million and your entire fate in the game is on the line. This is an immunity challenge, and if you're gonna phone it in, you might as well not be here on the island.
Mike, I think that I can get you into Top Chef now. I think that you have been so battered and destroyed by what's happened over the last 9 months that you can fuck with.
Oh yeah, at this point,
I think Top Chef you will love.
as long as people are getting kicked off and
They
are
do.
fighting for their chance and are cutting throats.
Please pack your knives and go.
Pack your knives. Is it Ramsey?
Fuck no, dude. It's Padma Lakshmi and Tom Colicchio.
As long as they're savage.
They're savage.
I come for the savage. The funniest part of Survivor is whenever they're doing those competitions, Jeff Probst just stands there and he goes, Christian really struggling with that puzzle. He seems like he is not going to be able to catch up. And he's literally 2 feet away from all of the people competing, and they're just like, shut up, Probst!
You're gonna fucking love Top Chef.
All
All right.
On
to the
That's
main-
our reality TV corner.
I love reality TV.
I wanted to recommend that. I wanted to recommend
Do you have something else?
Dick Cavett. Oh, and that
yeah.
show Primal is really good.
Yo, yeah, do the quick plug on that.
There's an Adult Swim show called Primal, and
How can people find it?
I was watching it on HBO Go, but if you got access
Max?
to Adult Swim,
Do you mean Max?
I was on I figured out I can use the Max.
I don't think the Go exists anymore.
Yeah, it's the Max now.
HBO has a lot of issues.
Whatever. Anyway, it's total Conan the Barbarian, Frank Frazetta, heavy metal, the movie vibes, and it's about a caveman and a T-Rex who go around fighting things. There's no dialogue. It's just cool visuals,
Right.
and it's metal as fuck. And I know you don't like animated stuff a lot, but
I like it when
this is not for it's bloody, it's crazy, it's gnarly.
Can I clarify that I don't dislike animated things. I just don't like adult cartoon sitcoms.
I am on board with that.
Fuck your Family Guy.
They're all
your...
Simpsons ripoffs.
Right, and Simpsons are cool. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool.
Simpsons is still old and crazy and
But we're
whatever.
both, we love Fritz the Cat. I'm here for all that stuff.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to put you in a corner as hating all animation.
I think we go to the animated shorts every year,
is why
and we love it.
I think you'd like this show because it is like, they tried to nominate the first like 4 for like best Oscar animation, and it didn't get picked. But they should have just done like 1 in best short, like, because they're all that good. They're all like, and I know you love metal. Like, and you like the aesthetic of metal, and the kind of like Conan the Barbarian shit going on, and you know, a guy fucking stabbing a mammoth or something with a spear is fucking cool. You know, like
he's absolutely right.
Yeah, so I'd recommend that show. That was my other. I wanted to get that out there.
I'm gonna be really sad if we, you know, the Oscars this year are kind of whatever, except for the shorts and the animated shorts. I'm gonna be sad to lose that tradition this year.
Well, aren't there gonna be the shorts and animated shorts?
There will be, but there's something
we won't be able to see them in theaters the way we have.
Right, with like the random like 60 old people that we see them with every year. They're like, "What the hell is this?
What the hell am I watching here?"
And also, there's a little plug for you. Go watch Mel Brooks's Academy Award-winning animated short from 64,
65,
65, 66,
63,
62.
It's called The Critic.
It's awesome.
And it is so funny.
Just go watch that. It's what, 3 minutes long, 4 minutes long?
Yeah.
Go watch that.
Yeah. I wonder if Chuck Jones was working on that. It seems like there was a certain era back there where they were really into doing, you know, like the ball and the line. And this cartoon is about the ball and the line. They're like really abstract, you know, and broken down like, you know, someone who studied Picasso got to do a cartoon.
Sure.
So should we get into the main topic of tonight's episode?
Yeah. I'm going to ask you 2 quick questions here. So we're going to talk about HBO's The Undoing.
Starring Nicole Kidman,
Hugh Grant,
and some other fucks.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland.
We'll talk about that. Mike, what happened here?
So Big Little Lies was a success. David E. Kelly and Nicole Kidman decided to team back up for a project called The Undoing, which I haven't seen the other one with Amy Adams that you've recommended. But
Sharp Objects
I think
is
that,
not the same as
but
this.
I think that there was probably a producer somewhere in there who was like, oh, we're doing a thing here. These are like women and
Jean-Marc Vallée directed Sharp Objects.
These are about leading ladies and murder, right? That's the theme going on here, you know? And
there is a fiscal discrepancy between Sharp Objects and The Undoing, I'll just say.
Well, and with Big Little Lies too. I'd say this is a.
Do the characters in The Undoing they are significantly more wealthy than the people in Big Little Lies? No.
I guess because this is such a fucking like media circus. You talked about that in the last one.
Yeah, we touched on this.
And that just becomes a bigger and bigger thing where I'm like, I do not understand why this guy's getting more attention than Jeffrey Epstein was getting.
Damn, man. Epstein actually never crossed my mind watching this, but I can't believe he did.
Well, the whole thing is really riding on like, oh, well, the sexual and violent crimes of rich white men, right? But maybe he didn't do it. That's what the whole thing's riding on, is maybe he didn't do it. That's the tension of the whole thing. Or does she believe that he did it?
Right.
Which is I guess that would be more specifically accurate.
Right.
Does she believe him?
Right, because the POV in this is so heavy. You brought up the Big Little Lies comparison, obviously, which it begs because of Nicole Kidman and David E. Kelly and just the nature of the entire thing. But they are so separated, and Big Little Lies season 1 is 7 episodes, and this is 6 episodes. Big Little Lies covered so much more ground.
Yes, this was slow.
And was able to address, I think, a lot more things than The Undoing was, because this was seriously just about like the anxiety of this one hyper wealthy white woman like living one of the most privileged lives, which it continues to like reveal how privileged it is up until the very last moment.
This is a little bit like the Melania Trump story.
Yeah,
you know, and that might be unfair, but like it is like, you know, the twist of the thing. If we're gonna should we get
let's
into?
let's save the.
Okay.
We can
All right.
just in case you haven't seen this.
Let's work on the setup and then we'll say our spoilers.
I mean, we've
into...
talked about it a little bit already, but this is like if Big Little Lies was just the trial from season 2 and all of like the depositions from the people in season 1. Like, I never know what the fuck Lily Rabe's deal is or why she's in this show until the last episode.
Yeah,
Everything
it's the same
else...
thing with Nicole Kidman's character. The twist is her. The revelation is like her true feelings about all of this, and that's.
Which remind me,
now
what
you have
are
to
they?
now you have to go rewatch the whole thing and be like, okay, this is how she was dealing.
Yeah, remind me what
because it looks
her feelings are.
It looks retrospectively like everything she did up to then was like more calculated, but it just seemed like it was all completely uncertainty and just trying to look out for the kid, I guess, or whatever.
And then all of a sudden she's a Harvard educated psychologist in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and that was
that you've completely forgotten about.
Yeah, and that was what like kind of threw me about the whole thing. Like this thing was good at like having certain points where I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested again.
I think that the first couple episodes are pretty smoking.
Well, and even
I think that
even
those
some of
charge.
those cliffhangers at the end of episodes, you're like, okay,
right,
we were waiting for this.
Right. So the end of episode 5 ends with what a popular prediction was.
Well, based on the fact that there were like 0 suspects. So you have, was it her dad or was it her kid or was it Lily Rabe?
Right.
Or was it her husband, who seems like it probably was, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was the other husband, but it doesn't really seem like.
Okay, but fuck it. It was, so it's him the whole time.
That's the twist. Okay,
why are we here?
Spoilers!
I couldn't help it. Why are we here?
The twist was he did it.
Yeah, the twist is that there was no twist all along.
And I think more specifically the twist was she believes that he did it. She said she would testify on his behalf, and she but even during the testimony, I wasn't sure
Which
if she
is
was
insufferable.
Even during the testimony, I thought she genuinely believed that he didn't do it and that she was getting railroaded by the prosecutor. And then at the end it was like, no, she did it on purpose though. Because her and Lily Rabe were in on it together with Donald Sutherland, and they all planned to fuck him over. But it really did not play out that way, and so her character didn't seem like she had calculated this move. It seemed like she played it off that way after looking like just an idiot again, again and again and again.
It's like 5 episodes of her just taking L's from everybody.
And you're supposed to believe she was doing it toward this end game, but even when that happened, it kind of seemed like she just still acted dumb and got called out and was like, no, you guys are right, I meant to do that kind of move,
and got her ass
like a cat who falls and pretends that nobody saw it and jumps to its feet.
Oh my god. And got her ass beat by the NYPD for the first 3 episodes for no apparent reason, basically, by the time that...
Well, because she was very suspicious.
And still, oh my god.
Then that last one where they're like, why did you say your husband is trustworthy if this is what you said to the police? And she's still balked and shocked and not haha, I'm glad you asked me that. It was very frustrating.
And when none of that stuff would have come up in any of...
And this story didn't... One thing this story gave us no time with was the husband, the son...
I feel like we got
was
more than, I think that
they were
received more than we ever needed from the son.
They were so othered as well, these are the less, these people have less money, they're less white.
Okay, can we talk?
They're less.
Can we talk about what
worthy of
the
any
treatment of the woman who's killed and her single father of one legitimate and one illegitimate child
guy got real
of color that they just like seem like
Yeah.
a stalking psychopath and spend zero time learning who the person is at all.
Yeah, he was like the main red herring. This thing was nothing but red herrings. So one red herring was him. One red herring was Donald Sutherland, but you're like, well, why would he do this instead of just killing the guy? Seems like he has, or whatever, you know.
It seems like that guy could have had him killed and no one would have ever known.
He could have hired a private investigator, take pictures of the affair, given him to Nicole Kidman, whatever.
They just like hop in a helicopter at the end of this thing.
Shenanigans. The kid who was the other red herring that you were on board for, and goddamn stupid Hammer ran through the dishwasher shenanigans. Like,
whoa, they go out of. I think that they go out of their way to press that it's like, ooh, is it?
that literally when and this is when I texted you and I was like, you might be right, because this show doesn't seem smart enough to plant red herrings at this point, even though that's all it was, because that's like the even dumber way to tell a mystery like this. But anyway, when Hugh Grant goes, I think I might have an idea of who did do it, it immediately cuts to the kid sitting there, and you're like, well,
okay,
was it him or is this red herring? Like,
sure,
come on, show, like, this is not. That's just not like the way to tell a mystery, and plant like plant other suspects and stuff like it. This show could have used a lot more characters, just so we had, maybe there was another guy that she was having and another that she'd slept with, and maybe he's also a suspect, but
totally,
like just other things.
Well, and
so when
do you remember in the first episode you like meet more people at that I don't know, whatever that is, that fundraiser gala kind of thing that they're at, where we meet the woman who's murdered. There's more friends of Nicole Kidman's in theirs that you see in that scene that all kind of make it seem like they're gonna be present in the story.
One of them was,
and they were all fucking there the last night that the woman was seen alive, and none of
and
that
one of
stuff
them was
again.
the prosecutor, wasn't she?
Was she? Was the prosecutor?
I think the prosecutor was in one of those first scenes, and that's why her and Lily Ray. And you're like, that seems like conflict of interest. Because her and Lily Ray like clearly knew each other. Like they all knew each other.
When Lily Ray walks into the courtroom and like gives her that little wave, and she's like, "Don't do that. I'm prosecuting the biggest murder trial in the country right now." And you're like, "Yeah, what the fuck?"
Lily Ray was her character was pretty obnoxious in this.
Oh my god! Well, but also like poor Lily Ray was like just spends all of it on the phone all the time because they could clearly never.
And like yeah,
and it's like
she was like this weird go between.
She gives one of the only. I don't think that her performance is bad.
I think the character is bad.
The character's super bad.
I think she's always great.
I think there's bad performances inside of bad characters in this show too, and I kind of want to talk about.
Was there any point where you didn't think that he was the most Hugh Grant was the most likely suspect?
He seemed immediately.
Anytime he was like crying about how he loved her, or about how his daughter, or about his sister died.
I don't even know what to say.
I was like, is he acting poorly or is he the killer? I can't tell. It turned out he was the killer, so I have to give Hugh Grant more credit.
You know what? I thought it was good once
he was acting poorly.
I think that once he was I don't think it was the murder scene is super strange, but once he's the killer, I think his best scene is the driving the son at the end.
Yeah,
he's good.
He's finally able to like, because that's the character he's been having to like hide the whole time. Right. I think he deserves a lot more credit than other people for the way this whole thing went down.
You know who wins
based on the chat? He had to make you kind of not suspect him, but he didn't have any ammo to do that with.
He had no tool belt.
He was so suspicious.
Yeah. You know who wins my acting award is the defense attorney, his attorney.
The first or the second one? Because I liked them both.
I liked them both too, and I heard.
I liked them both.
I think I heard an argument that the show would have been better if it was just the first guy the whole time.
That was my feeling actually. Yeah. That was, and I did like the second one, but the first guy when he was calling Nicole Kidman out about, are you mad at the husband that had an affair? Are you mad at the husband? Like, which one do you think is? What do you think of that guy?
Yeah, that guy was good.
I feel like he was in the deuce or something.
I feel like that guy is an American.
Yeah, which is a problem with this show.
It is a problem. Actually,
there's so many, and this is like probably casting agents again being like, oh, but the Brits are so good, and these are A-list names, from the 90s. If we go back to 1995 and you're like, Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, this is the next big Oscar-winning movie. Today it's like, fucking A, guys.
I think that this almost has...
You could have stuck no-name actors in this, and it could have been way more compelling, too, probably.
I think that this kind of has the same problems that, like, Three Billboards has. Where I'm assuming...
Was it written by a British person?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's an American novel. I mean, it seems to be so New York-centric, even though there are problems with the... I've heard about this, too, that, like, Donald Sutherland's apartment could not view all three of the, like, New York landmarks that it views, like, geographically. It's not possible. But...
I love how they think, like, no one's gonna call that out.
But I think that...
New York... There aren't a lot of people who live there.
But it does just seem like a... It's almost like a poor version of what Succession does so well.
Right.
Of that criticism of that class. I don't quite buy these people inside of the world that they're inhabiting. It seems like the kind of thing that I would have written as like a 15-year-old if I was like, I'm going to write about hyper-rich people in New York, not understanding it at all.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Whereas...
And being like, yeah, they're doctors. This would be front page news.
Right.
This would not be...
In New York, the town of 20,000 people.
We're going to get him on TV.
It also had like shitty Gone Girl echoes a little bit, like especially that scene.
That makes sense. Especially without having seen Gone Girl, but knowing the cultural osmosis around
right,
it.
And I actually think that this book came out like 10 years before Gone Girl did, and like both of those things have completely eclipsed whatever.
So there's probably an adaptation of this book with a different screenplay, a different director, and different actors that would be a really smoking. And you would be okay with the fact that the twist is that he did do it all along, because you would have totally bought in to that he didn't. And that's what would make it compelling. Is if all of us as an audience have been like, I think he's wrongfully accused, and then he turns into the monster. Right. I was really done with it at the point where she interviews the mom. And the mom's like, he had no grief or guilt about his sister's death. And I was like, well, how are we supposed to believe that it's... And this is like still two episodes away from the revelation that it was him all along.
That scene was so weird, the FaceTime scene with his mom. What the fuck was that? It took me a minute to even realize what was happening. I was like, who is this?
Well, and it was so funny, like, when you're watching the trial scene, right? And this is why I was annoyed that it wasn't like her planning to fuck him over on testimony, is that they're like, Lily Rabe's character gave us this information about the mother. And you're like, oh, did Lily Rabe screw her over? And that's how she's reacting in trial and stuff like that. And maybe this is the point. She's a great actress, right? That character is a great actress. She was selling it, but then they like hold hands leaving the court, and that's supposed to confirm it. But like that wasn't done well enough for me. Like they should have had a close up on them two leaving, and Lily Rabe being like, the plan went according, and she's like, that's what we wanted. Something, and that would have like changed the dynamic, the entire thing for me.
Oh my god!
Like and that's like crazy to talk about something that's like 6 hours, where you're like, the whole thing could have changed in literally like a shot or two of just like confirming that this was a plan, and that this wasn't an actual shit show going on. Like, I just wasn't buying it.
I agree with you 100%. It felt like some spine of the thing had been removed. Columns of the spine have been removed.
Yeah. It was wobbly.
It was wobbly.
It was wobbling all over the place.
It was about as wobbly as all of the accent work in it, I think.
A bit wibbly wobbly.
I'm on one of my walks.
So,
I always go... her first scene
Does
with
she
the
say
defense
that?
attorney is so ridiculous, where she's like, why do they have you on camera? And she's like, I was on one of my walks. Your walks? Yes, my walk. That's what people do. I walk.
This is because some HBO producer watched Big Little Lies and was like, well, clearly the thing holding this all together is Nicole Kidman.
I think think she's great as Celeste.
I do too.
But the Celeste overtones
but
of
Celeste only has to carry, a quarter of the weight. So you're like,
Exactly.
cool, we have our little band of thieves. She's, this is her energy, this is her vibe. I don't want to spend 6 hours alone with that, though.
Right. They're also, like, pitting Celeste against great stuff. She's with Reese Witherspoon. She's with Skarsgård. She's with all these people. And in this one, she's, like, mostly alone, either talking to her kid or talking to, like, a seated Donald Sutherland.
Or Hugh Grant being like, I still love you,
Yeah, or like, talking to him on the phone.
Yeah, a lot of phone conversations, which...
I don't know if they were like shooting this into the beginning of COVID and they couldn't be around people or something.
That's very possible.
That could be a thing to fuck this up.
And maybe it's also like, hey, we're gonna be contemporary. There's no reason they would have to meet for this. But it's like, then have that character doing something dynamic while they're on this call.
Shit.
Don't just have faces. Like, people have lost the art of like good theatrical blocking in a scene. They can just like sell a whole. You don't even need that many shots. You can have a character just moving around and picking something up and like some activity.
That's why Big Little Lies was so good.
Yeah, there's tons of that.
Season. There's so much of that, and there is great blocking in the scenes between two characters. I mean, let's just talk about Gordon Klein entering the room for the first time. It's amazing. And then they walk.
That's a great example.
And then they walk out and they have that incredible.
And you immediately
they
understand
have that
the
incredible
dynamic.
miscommunication. Him and Laura Dern and Jean-Marc Vallée was like, we're gonna use natural light and we're gonna block the camera to the blocking of the actors instead of the other way around. And that did not happen in this at all. There was no like auteurism in the way that the show was built.
Was this all directed by?
I have no fucking idea who directed this.
And I had no inclination to look it up.
And there's no inclination to look it up. And there's no stamp of anything in this. There's no like stylistic thing that I'm like, ooh yeah, this is why I like watching The Undoing. Like in a fucking moment in The Young Pope, where it's like now there's a crazy dance track over this like all these popes walking downstairs where I'm like, ooh yeah, this is the thing about the show that.
And like anything else, it's all about like how much you personally can relate to it, right? So like. Mm-hmm. As I was trying to, when I watch things like this, our protagonist, Nicole Kidman's character, like even though I'm not a rich white lady, I'm still trying to connect with that character, you know? And it wasn't like they were giving us, like, it wasn't the kind of thing where like they're splitting that energy between other characters, so I'm supposed to put my Hugh Grant shoes on or the husband's shoes on or anybody else's. It's all about her,
Right.
And I just wasn't like, and I really don't chalk it up to my inability to appreciate that kind of person.
No,
it's just like I don't think, and I think that, and I chalk it up more to her performance, I think, than the character even. I think a different actress maybe could have done I would love to see. I remember we talked about Julianne Moore would have been better in this role, I think.
What about Parker Posey?
Any of those women that we're talking about, like, honestly, Nicole Kidman's just, like, kind of a flat performer. I don't think she's ever been the most compelling performer.
She has an Oscar for The Hours. I think Nicole Kidman is good, but
I know, but
this is not a fit. I don't think this fits.
Yeah.
And I found that...
You're right. The Hours is good. I'm not going to...
Yeah, The Hours is great. Eyes Wide Shut, she's great. I mean, Nicole Kidman is good all the time. This was not her part. Mary Louise Parker would have like been the person to put in this. Because she is like a New York
I always looked at...
chick.
Naomi Watts is like the
Naomi
little sister of Nicole Kidman, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're both Aussies or whatever.
Yeah,
she would have been way better. She would have been way better in this, though.
But there's American
Because she's a little more like... Nicole Kidman's good when you're like... She is like strong, powerful, but she doesn't play weak well. And this character is like... Gotta be going through all these like weakened positions and trying to gain foot. And that's just not her strength, is like playing the underdog,
Yeah,
she's
that's true.
She's like,
That's a good point. There's so many American actresses I think that really could have
That's the ultimate point. Is all of these characters should have.
I also
been
don't
American.
understand why Hugh Grant's British.
In the book, are any of those characters British?
I have no idea.
doubt it. I doubt they are.
Like you said before, I have no reason. I did not feel compelled to look any of that
I bet
up.
in the book these are all American characters, and I bet this could have been notable, good American actors playing these roles.
I mean, if the thing is like set in Melbourne, it's like just do that. HBO's still gonna buy it.
That would probably have made the whole show more interesting.
Dude,
If
I
it was-
actually
if
think
it
that
was-
like the Big Little Lies
If
version
all
where
of
it's
the
actually set...
if all of the characters in it were British or something, then it would have been more.
If that's what it is, that's what it is. Like, don't you wouldn't you kind of like to see the Big Little Lies that's actually set in Australia?
Sure.
Like, fuck it.
Yeah, Rich Housewives of Melbourne.
I don't know what that
Of
looks
Sydney.
like. I'd kind of rather see that than like a crappy interpretation of like the upper crust of New York.
Well, and doing the
I've seen that
doing the thing that we've seen in Hollywood so much of, like taking British actors and shoehorning them into these situations where you're like, this doesn't really feel natural, like, or
It just never felt natural. It
like
was
that.
so
That's
weird.
probably an even bigger reason why it was hard to connect to these main characters, is because it's like, you know, and not to, I don't know, it's not like anti-immigration or anything like that. I mean, the center part of the story is that they are rich white people, you know,
Yeah.
and rich white people in New York, like,
Yeah. It's just that like we've seen it, and I have a little fatigue on it, but it's like if you're gonna do it, Succession has really raised the bar for that. You have to.
well, and I think
You
HBO,
have to nail that.
you know, is like, hey, we're seeing Big Little Lies and Succession. People love rich people being human, being
Well, I think it's just
flawed.
I think that, and I think this every time I just finish the Crumley book, and this happens in those all the time, where it's like, early on, there's an excuse for them to pretty much just have like an unlimited amount of money, because that like
sure
can reshift all their focus. It's not like they need to worry about it.
Yeah,
But how good are the
that's
things
a
that people-
classic trope in, you know, in any media. Is there's a like Frank and It's Always Sunny just has money for them to do shenanigans.
Right.
Great.
But I kind of like the thing where there's a battle for it. Mad Men is a great example of that, where it uses these. It shows you the top and these people who don't worry about it at all, and then people like Peggy, who's like,
Right.
I make $35 a week.
We never saw a single like colleague of theirs as far as their jobs went.
Well, there's the one
know.
outrageous scene where she meets with the doctor who informs her that
That's true.
that he
And
was
there
fired
should've-
months ago, and he's like, I shouldn't be seen with you, but they're meeting in the fucking courtyard of the hospital where he works.
I totally forgot about that. There should have been more of that.
And he waves at doctors that walk by. He's
And there
like, I
should have
shouldn't
been, and there should have been more of like her being like talking to another, like why wasn't her character going to a therapist? You know, I know we saw it in Big Little Lies, but that should have been a thing in this show more than Big Little Lies almost, like, because she wasn't in the therapy till after, or no, she wasn't before.
They started
But still.
they started together.
Still, like, they're
Don't they?
We didn't.
I can't remember.
The only relationships we saw them have were like her dad, the kid, and Lily Rabe. Hugh Grant didn't have a buddy.
No, Hugh Grant just like had
He
that
didn't-
one weird,
he
like
didn't-
that
he was
one weird
estranged
episode
from his
in
family.
prison.
You know.
Can we talk? This is okay. This is big. Can we talk about that Donald Sutherland scene? Do you know which one I'm talking about? You don't know which one I'm talking about right out of the gates? I think this was an
Is
episode.
it the one where he told the principal that he was gonna cut his dick off or whatever?
This is the episode where he gives the. You see, I'm a cocksucker.
Yes, that was the principal.
And I don't mean that in whatever weird way he says. I'm an old-fashioned cocksucker, he
Yes.
says. What in the fuck is the writing there?
The entire
None of that stuff lands on a point that you're like, oh.
well, and also Donald
It is
Sutherland's
just one of-
delivery of that. It was like they didn't give him a note to like tone it back, or to do. He's
But it is also just like one of the most
No, you're
incoherent, bizarre.
all of his dialogue was like that though, where he's like, "I'm an old gangster businessman."
Who
and
sits
then-
at the Met all day.
And then Donald Sutherland's the kind of guy who's like, I'm going to say every word clearly, and they're going to hear it. And so this is the dialogue you give me. I will fucking say it.
It's so weird. I
Yeah.
have never.
His character was like the other red herring, and I think a lot
Was
of
he?
people,
I just like didn't.
yeah, but it was like, why would he do it like this? If
He's
this
just
was his-
he's another one of those like mechanic elements that we're talking about, where it's like, well, there's an endless pile of money here. He can pay the $2.5 million bail or whatever to get
Sure.
him out, and hire the kind of infamously famous expensive attorney that will do most of the talking when they're on national television for whatever fucking reason that they're on national television. It is one of the, like you said, like shaky spine parts of it where I'm like, I just
So I
don't really get what the.
I think
what
we're
the-
finding the real culprit here is in the writing of this thing.
I think it is, but a lot of it is in the casting. It's like one of those
The
things.
cast-
That, like,
the
it
casting-
looks cool on paper, but
Exactly. It looked cool on paper in 1995.
right.
You know,
I
where
think
you're
that-
like, nowadays it should have been like Kiefer Sutherland
Well-
as Hugh Grant. You know,
That would've been great.
That would have been great.
That would have been great.
You know,
This also is a thing that like it's, and I have been so outwardly, explicitly like HBO whores. This doesn't feel like HBO.
well, this was my question to you.
This feels like a TNT
This
show.
is my question to you. Do you think, if you look at all the HBO shows, and if you thought, could I write something better than this? Do you think this is like one of the first ones we could name that, like, I think you and I could actually write something more compelling than this in 6 episodes?
This show is
With this budget and accessibility, I really think
Well-
I really think I could write something better than this.
at least adapt a novel better than this.
It was not.
I do think that The Undoing is better than Industry, which I don't want to talk about at all.
Oh, we did watch the first episode of Industry, and we were both bored, and we didn't like it.
And fuck that show.
And we hope it goes under. And it's about fucking stock jockeys. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it's one of the most like.
And it's a bunch of British people.
Yeah, it's like a British dick. It's like a British.
It's a
dick
BBC
sucking.
co-production.
I hate it. Yeah, The Undoing was not the show of the year.
And I'm sorry. I know we have fans that really liked it and that recommended it to us, or are going
I
to listen
cannot
to this.
imagine that anyone is finishing the show right now thinking that it was like great.
I don't know. I think we're gonna, have listeners that might disagree. And if you do, then give us a review or send us an email at hotlittlemairbag@aol.com. Isn't that it?
I'm gonna post a series of polls on our.
Have you checked our
Instagram.
email lately?
I checked our email today. We have not received a single one.
All right. Well, tell us what you think, and tell us what you want us to watch. If you have such a fucking opinion, and you're sick of us having such fucking opinions.
I'm gonna post a bunch of polls on the Instagram. We've got enough people they can vote on it. We'll see. Follow us on Instagram at Hot Little Takes.
I watched Emma. You need to watch Emma.
I'm gonna watch Emma. We're gonna watch Mank here in
Mank.
a couple days. and it's gonna be
Emma
awesome.
starring Anya from Queen's Gambit. That's one I know people have recommended to both of us.
I rewatched the end of it with Katie the other day. That show's awesome.
What?
The Queen's Gambit. She finished.
Oh, the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, not Emma. I haven't seen
Yeah,
Emma yet.
you gotta
but
watch Emma.
I'm excited to see Emma. Well, okay. So what do we got coming down? So we'll talk about Mank. We might do a Citizen Kane Mank double feature with each other this weekend.
Yeah.
It might be fun to talk about Citizen Kane.
We might have some other weird projects in the works, but we don't want to reveal too much yet.
Oh yeah, no, we've got a big announcement coming soon. But
Yeah, we'll see.
Well-
Later this month on Netflix, I know Chadwick Boseman's Ma Rainey's Big Black
Oh
Bottom.
shit, that's gonna come out
which
before the end
is
of the
part
year.
of the
August Wilson.
August Wilson cycle.
And
It's the
it's
it's the 20s play, right? It's the
Uh,
jazz. It'll look
yes.
yeah,
it's
it's
the
the
20s
jazz
one.
one, and he's the leader of the band.
What's the 30s one?
That might be Jitney.
No, Ginny's the 60s one.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I saw Jitney when I was a kid, and so cool. It's-
We've talked about this shit
But it
so
like
much.
never. But people never talk about it in that cycle.
I know,
It's
that-
like a cool play, like,
Dude,
It's all in. It's like Taxi. It's like
Yeah.
it's like
Soul
Soul
Jazz.
Taxi.
Yeah.
It's like the old TV show, but if it were like,
Right.
you know.
Seven Guitars, the 50s one about the blues musician who just got out of prison. It's fucking sick.
I never saw that.
August
That
Wilson's
sounds
plays
cool,
were so
though.
good.
Yeah, and I think the definitive collection is going to start to come together because they're all getting done in different. Some of them have been done several times. Some haven't done once, right? But eventually someone's going to make the Radio Golf movie and are going to be like, hey, if you want to watch all 10 August Wilson plays...
Radio Golf is what I want to see on stage really badly. That's like about gentrification and stuff.
That's the 90s one?
Mm-hmm.
That's the last one.
That's the last one.
What's the 80s one?
It's called King Hedley II. It's about a character from the 50s one who gets out of prison.
I just think that is
For murder.
so cool that he did that way. And I think it's like a fucked up, like, I was watching Oh Hello on Broadway, and they make a joke about how, like, this is the staircase from this August Wilson play that some of you, like...
From Joe Turner's Come and Gone.
Exactly, like, you know, because there's 10 of them, and they hardly ever get produced, you know, because... Think of where we live, like, they
did 2 when I was in college.
Right, but how many actors did they have to hire from out of town, you know?
Not all of them.
That's true.
Shouts to Lynn Hastings.
Thank you, Lynn. We love you. I hope you listen.
Shouts to Calvin Thompson, who was the lead in both of those. Joe Turner's Come and Gone was great. I saw that twice. Joe Turner's... I'm not going to sing it.
There's a lot of music in those, though.
Yeah, well, in Seven Guitars, they have to.
Well, in Ma Rainey, they got a
Yeah.
band, and...
Yeah, those shows are fucking sick. I can't believe we're doing this again. I think this is either the 3rd or 4th time that we've talked about this.
That's fine, though. That's one I know that's one we're excited about, because that's coming out at the end of the month.
Fuck yeah. We're probably going to do our top 5 shows of the year episode soon.
I guess so.
We've watched enough. I have 5. I've got my list, kind of.
I have to think about it.
I'm including...
I've been watching a lot of shows that didn't come out this year because I've just been watching all sorts of crap.
Well, it may shock longtime listeners of the podcast to learn that our batteries died before we could sign off. Not a huge deal. We were pretty much done. Mike did have one little quippy thing he threw in there towards the end, but I don't remember it now, so, who knows. We will be back. Hopefully next week, maybe the week after, so we can talk about David Fincher's Mank, which comes out tonight, and do our top 5 shows of the year, top 10 movies, top 2 movies, I don't know. So we'll see. Everyone, keep it clean, stay inside, wear a mask and wash your hands. Rock and roll.